okay, so one of the things that I talk about in life, uh, you know, well, with, okay, so by now you understand that there is a philosophy towards everything that I do, okay, including networking. All right, so the reason why I do things are the reasons why I do things. Like one of the things, um, I like to create this extasia moment that which obviously what we do has a tone of seriousness, but it's not like save the space time continuum type missions in our lives. This is where arrogance and ego meet for lunch, and create these scenarios. You know, so instead of daydreaming of me having $1 million, I like to think of the actual scene, okay, where um, John McClane, okay, is sitting here, okay, all right, and of course his captain's sitting here as well, and then you got these two guys sitting here, and then there's one guy in the back who doesn't say a word, okay, all right. I like to think of myself as that guy. Okay, now from a fantasy perspective, because it does have some truth to it. All right, when I'm in the conference call, okay, normally what happens when I join a company, okay, now when I say company, it's a contract, okay, because I'm a contractor, and of course throughout my career, trying to find full time work was my mission because I got tired of the I don't know contracting isn't bad because being a consultant is awesome. I'm not gonna lie about that. And matter of fact, it is what set me apart for a lot of my interviews because of that experience of being a consultant. However, okay, I would like to be on a long term contract. Now, um, once that happens, okay, you gotta understand that over a period of time, you are dealing with the same problems on a regular basis on the same network, and your growth is not going to be there as if you're a contractor. But when I come in, I don't say nothing. Okay, now in the background, okay, what happens is when someone asks me a question, um, my response will always be, well, let me share my screen and I'll show you. And I pull out my damn drawing pad and my pen. And next thing you know, we got this whiteboard thing going on. Okay, all right, and they get a sense without me saying, oh, by the way, I know what I'm doing. They get a sense of, oh, well, Kyle actually, knows what he's doing. Okay, so from that aspect, that's how I interact with my team. Okay, not in conference calls. Okay, and I'm telling you, one of the things that you'll notice, you'll notice always like that one guy who always is talking about indirectly bragging. By the way, okay, his mission his mission at that location, okay, is to be the smartest guy in the room. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. All right, that's the image he wants to portray. So he always has something to say, and then people gravitate to that. All right, so it's the concept that if you're really trying to look for something and find something on me, you're going to find it, whether it's real or not. Okay, because you're really looking, and that is your motivation, and that is your sole purpose of this mission that you are on. Okay, nobody gave you this mission. Okay, all right. This is an insecure response. Okay, based on your desire to be the strongest person on the team. And you know what's funny? We don't need the strongest person on the team. We need someone that helps the team and interacts with the team and creates and is an asset to the team. That's what we need. And that's very hard to find. Okay? And you'll find that some companies won't find them at all because of because they don't want to pay that individual. And why would I sit there and do this for you when I can make double the money over here? Okay? All right? You have the money to pay, and I'll stay. But I gotta have some self-respect. Okay? Because if you're not going to give it to me now, you're definitely going to give it to me 5 years later. All right? And at some point, I'm going to be kicking myself in the butt for not taking an opportunity, okay, of growth and income that I should have taken 5 years ago, just because I feel guilty of wanting something better for myself. Okay? Because that was the whole purpose of me studying and getting educated and getting certified in the first place, right? Okay, so now everything that I've just said up to this point has so many gray areas, so many variables, and so many ways that when you start getting into our field and start growing, you'll start to see these indirectly. None of this is like thrown in your face saying, "Hey, by the way, my name is George, and I'm trying to take this place over." No, it doesn't work that way. Okay. Now, I'm the guy. Okay, because remember, this is George McClain, right? Bitching about, hey, you want information from us, why don't you give us some, right? And then this guy, okay, automatically says, do you remember Gruber, right? And then everybody in the car is dead silence and staring at this guy. Because in reality, when this guy speaks, it's because he has something to say. And that's how I see myself in a conference call. Okay? I'm always the quiet one. I'm always in the background, but I'm watching. I'm listening to everything. Okay? Everything. All right? Okay, and it does pay off because, months down the line, I will recall something that was said in that conference call. It's like, oh, you know what? We can't do this. Remember, we were supposed to be changing this from a compliance perspective, and I cannot tell you how many times I've had to bring up compliance as a means of we can't do this. Okay? Right? And I'm telling you, how many people on the team will not listen to that except one person who really isn't on our team but is in control of our team, and that would be the director. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. Okay? The last thing I want to do is become a director or a manager. It's just a concept that I'm listening. When most people are in a conference call, okay, and you also got to understand there's these 5 stages of team development. Okay? Go look it up. All right? It's just like the 5 stages of grief without the grief aspects of it. Okay, all right. And there is tension in the beginning of teamwork because nobody knows anybody. Okay, and everyone's trying to play this game. All right. So I'm very particular on focusing on the job at hand. Okay, I don't have time to place blame. Okay, that's for games. That's for teenagers. Okay, I ain't got time for that. All right. What I have time for is fixing the problem, so we can go back to doing our projects. Okay, because when shit hits the fan and we have like a severity 1, okay, guess what? That's all our focus. Okay, and it is stressful. Now, if you have the ability to work your best with stress, okay, when the shit hits the fans, more power to you. I like it. Okay. Okay, I love when a link goes down and now everyone's on the fucking phone trying to get that damn link back up. All right, that is the thrill of the chase, right? Okay, but still, okay, and that's what a lot of times when I shine because my brain is on overload. Okay, and there's 2 things that's going on. First of all right, I'm trying to figure it out and I can't. That's stress. Okay. 2, my brain doesn't want that stress. So it is literally calculating in the subconscious multiple variables that brings up an answer, then all of a sudden it just comes into play. Now, the way I explain that makes it seem like I'm always fixing the problem. And guys, that is not the case. Come on, guys. We're human beings. The reality is, okay, just like this scenario I'm talking to you about the guy in the background, I like to believe that I'm that guy. Okay? And in reality, guys, I'm just another person in the conference room. Okay? Alright? But my ego wants to be this guy so bad that I like to tell a story that I'm this guy, right? And that's, guys, that's just not the case, okay? We're network engineers. We're not agents of the time continuum, right? We're not saving the world and saving space, and saving our dimension. Okay, we're just we're just providing a service of our skill set. Okay, so what I like to the reason why I'm talking about this is the concept of what do we deal with on a regular basis. Okay, so as a network engineer, okay, all right, and we talked about projects and contracting and full time employees. Okay, now, um, this is the number one question that I will kill your desire to ever ask this question ever again. Okay, because there is no right way. I like Professor Farnsworth when he says technology isn't neither good or evil. It's how it's used that gives it that persona. Okay, not his exact words, but that's the reality. Okay, nuclear fusion is great. Okay, all right, but we can use nuclear fusion to create atomic bombs where you can't grow anything on your land after killing millions, by the way. Okay, or maybe even at the brink of creating genocide. You have killed that land's ability to grow resources and food for the next hundred some years. Okay, all right. Yes, it will repair itself. Okay, but you'd probably be better off. Okay, literally, taking that part of dirt that's in the land and throwing it in space and fucking stealing dirt from the Amazon and filling that hole back in to grow crops. Okay, that will be more efficient than waiting for the radiation to be worked out of the ground. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Now look, nothing I hate more is when I'm speaking or somebody else is speaking and someone says, well, that's not right. You said it wrong. Okay, you know what? He didn't say it wrong because I understood what he was saying, and I would even ask, okay, is this what you mean? And he says yes. Guys, his purpose of communication to the destination was successful, but somebody else sees it the wrong way because of the words he used. Okay, all right. Number one complaint is Indian accents. Okay, with tech support. All right, guys, I don't have a problem with that because my desire is to try to understand what they're talking about, to work with them. Okay, all right. What do you think about what do you think about how they see our accents? Okay, all right. And I can't tell you how quickly someone is to judge the situation, but I can't work with them, man. His accent's too strong. Okay, yeah. All right. Did you try? Did you try to hear their symbols coming out of their mouth and kind of make the connections that his R's really are A's? Okay, did you do that? Did you even make an effort, or did you just do your thing that I can't do it? Okay, again, that is the person you want to be. That's not the person I want to be. All right, okay, I want to at least try. Okay, and this behavior that I have in that aspect has been very helpful to these individuals over decades of interaction. Okay, because nothing's more frustrating than nobody trying to fix your problem because you have a strong accent and you're talking the best English you can that you have at your arsenal. Okay, until someone comes around and literally pays attention to your verbiage, to your letters that you're using, your sounds, and even the way your mouth moves. Okay, it might be he might be saying work, but that's not what's coming out of his mouth. But based on the sound and the verbiage and the way his mouth moves, you are making the connection. Oh, that weird sound you're making means work. Okay, So this guy is literally saying, I can't get the work done. Okay? And everybody else is hearing everything else because they never made an effort. All right? Now, okay, last time I used this was with the chiropractor, which I need to go back to. And the woman behind the counter's accent was so strong, and she actually thanked me because she noticed that I was always, every time we interacted, I was staring at her lips, which could make her feel like she's creepy, like I'm creepy, like I'm some kind of like psychotic, right? Okay, who is glorifying her lips in a very wrong fashion on so many levels, but that's not really the case. Okay, and she started recognizing what I was really doing, and she started realizing that all the times I was saying, "Can you repeat that?" Okay, I was actually making a mental note, and those words of me asking her to repeat it, which was, oh my God, it was a lot, okay, had started to diminish. And she literally said one morning, I thank you very much for the effort that you take to try to understand. I know I have a strong accent, and nobody else does that. They just get frustrated and mad, like I'm actually doing this on purpose. So thank you very much. Okay, and I had told her, but that's just a part of my character. Not more. And let's be honest. This is not because I'm some great guy, and Kyle's a saint. It has nothing to do with that. Okay, it is the fact that Kyle's brain is so fucking anal that it's a puzzle to solve. That's what I do, guys. I solve problems. I've been doing that my whole life. It's a part of my core, and her thanking me, yeah, it made me feel good. But trust me, I did not do it for any normal reason whatsoever, except to solve the problem, to solve the puzzle. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so your oh my God, where the hell did that come from? So your flaws could actually come out to be positives. All right. Okay, so as I'm cleaning up this little sticky spot on my board here, which I don't know where it came from, and it is bad too. I mean, like, I got alcohol on a cloth, and I have to use different spots by pouring new alcohol in different spots of the rag and slightly, like, rub this across the spot. So I'm taking this off like layer by layer, and then changing the spot of the rag that I'm using. It's like really bad. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it came from. It could be alien, but all I know is it's got to go. And it is, wow, this is crazy. Woo. Okay, so now, fake it till you make it. All right, this is a term that makes people perceive the concept in a hell of a wrong way now. Okay, there is a time and place for everything. Okay, and in the beginning of your career, okay, you were desperate. Okay, you just want to get into the field. So any job, okay, that comes your way, you will hop on it and take it. Okay, it's a no-brainer, right? If I want to be a security guard, I'm going to take the first security guard for Walmart in a heartbeat because of experience. Now, here's the thing. Okay, you need to start realizing really quickly, and you're going to experience. Okay, you have gotten your very first job as a network admin, and before you know it, you're putting phones on a desk, which is completely irrelevant to anything that you want to do, and whatever you're learning at this job does not help you get your next job. Okay, this happens all the time. Okay, because of the concept of play on words. All right, so okay, 9 times out of 10, your IT manager has no concept of IT. So you got two choices. One, be a dick, okay, and devalue his authority, okay, because you know more than he does, and you should be the one having that job. And let me tell you, nobody wants a fucking job as a manager, All right. Now, some people do. Hey, let me tell you right now, in my experience in IT, there are two people that I have high respect for and will go out of my way to give them the information that they want and help their job as easily as I possibly can. And that is project managers, okay, and managers, man. Because I'm telling you, all right, being the foot on the ground has its place, okay, has its stress, but nobody wants the stress of a project manager because they're being asked questions throughout from everyone every second. So what's the process? What's the progress on this on this project? Well, you need to go and talk to Kyle because goddamn, we need to get this information here and blah 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 blah. Okay, and it's not just the projects man. It's not just one manager. It's the manager of the application team. It's the manager of the actual IT VPs. It's the manager of the director. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. I only had to deal with the project manager and my manager. I'm good compared to what they have to deal with. Managers are the same way. Okay. They have to deal with their manager, their manager's managers, VPs of above. Okay. Because they're the manager. All right. You cannot phantom the fires that managers put out for you. You might be a soldier on the ground. They are the soldier at the distribution layer, fighting off all the actual managers on the core layer, trying to come down to your access layer, all right, and zap you. Okay? All right? So, you need to start looking at the entity of a team as a whole. Okay, and when they say there's no I in team, man, that's correct. And I don't even like being a team leader. Okay, but that comes with the senior aspect of the job in a lot of ways. Okay, and nobody sees your success. No one sees you actually going out of your way. If you got a team member of 5, you give instructions for what your teammates should do, and you have to go back through all their documents. Okay, I don't even care if they're visual diagrams. Go through those and verify the information because it's crap. Now you have to sit back and look at it and say, why is it crap? Is it because I explained it wrong? Is it because they don't understand what I'm saying? Okay, or you know what? I ain't got time for this. I'm just gonna fix it. Okay, and that's what ends up happening, man. I'm telling you 1,000 times over, right? And now you're doing your job and everybody else's, okay? Because you don't want to go back and say, yo, that fucking diagram sucked, yo. How the hell did you ever get in this field? That conversation you get nothing out of, and it's just not cool because you have been there at one point in your career, and the last thing that you want to do is forget where you came from, okay? Because you were lucky to get in this field. All right, and getting in the network field is not easy, man. Not easy. Okay, you got to be someone who knows their shit. Okay, and have the personality on top of that to be able to communicate. All right, because in the reality, you might be the greatest network engineer in the world, but if you're pissing off my customers, dude, you gotta go. Okay, all right. Guys, you're a human being first. Can't you understand that? And caring about people is not that hard. I don't care if they're strangers or not. Guys, it is the easiest thing on the planet. Because if it wasn't, scams wouldn't work. Okay? Because a good person wouldn't even think of being scammed because, it's a thought process they would never think about doing. When they got a problem, they're going to solve it in a certain way over a period of time, not fucking go out there and steal people's money, okay, so they can have it. All right, it's just something that you just don't think that someone would do, and that's why you get scammed all the time. Look, okay. Obviously, I have a way of words, and I'm a sarcastic motherfucker, and that's never going to change, okay, but there is a sense of philosophy and honor in my aggressive approach in a lot of ways. People look at my videos and think I'm just this arrogant asshole, and it's far from it. Okay, I am that guy that never talks in the conference call And when I do speak, everyone shuts up because like, wait a minute, hold up, who the fuck is that? Kyle? He's speaking? Are you serious? Okay, now everyone's curious of what I gotta say. All right, and it's nothing fantastic. It's just the fact that if I'm rarely speaking, if I am speaking, that means I have something to say. Okay, all right, and that's how I am. There's a downside to that. Okay, a downside is nobody knows what the fuck you're doing. Okay, seriously. All right, and that is the downside of it. Okay, now you have to figure out if that's a fight you want to fight, or because eventually you're going to get to a skill level that it doesn't really matter if they know what you're doing. Okay, they're gonna know what you're doing. All right. Okay. So, and what you're up against is the other person that is trying to create an image, and they are constantly interacting with the manager, giving them updates on the workload, which they're not updates. They're indirectly messages that are showing the manager how smart he really is, because that's his own focus. Okay, this is not just networking, guys. This is just teams in general. Okay, all right. One of the worst teams that I've ever been on. Okay, which is funny because you're not really in a team. You are a individual technician, and you ride alone. And if when you're riding alone, how can you ever become the office of conversation? Okay, and I mean like drama infested conversation. Okay, because apparently you're doing all this stuff. Okay, and all you're doing is interacting with the customer, going from house to house, being a service tech. So how do these stories start? Oh, because you are doing your job and they aren't. See my point? Yeah. So you keep your head down, you do your job, okay, and it shows you're doing your job, okay, all right, and that causes problem because everybody else says your college making us look bad. All right, guys, this even goes back to when I was actually working as a day laborer in a warehouse. Okay, I had people pull me aside and tell me to slow down. Okay, now I need you to understand something. Who the hell goes balls to the walls? Okay, taking off off a tractor trailer. Okay, a big ass thing off a loading dock, macaroni and fucking spaghetti boxes filled to the brim. All right, heavy as shit. Who the hell goes balls to the walls for that? Hell no. Okay, all right. I'm not happy of doing this. I don't want to do it, but I want to get paid. Okay, so you're telling me the speed that I'm working is making all you look bad? I mean, are you actually moving one box per day? What the hell? That's what you deal with. Okay, as an electrician, all right, I'm mad because I can never get the damn drill. It's never there. Corded drill or cordless doesn't matter. So I purchased my own cordless drill with my money to bring to the site, so I always have a drill, making me productive the 8 hours that I'm there. Now, because I brought my own drill, now the union is going to expect everybody else to buy their own drill, and now I'm causing havoc. Causing havoc to the point where nobody wants to work with me. Does that stop me? Hell no. Okay? All right, I'm going to work. But that is the byproduct of you just wanting to go work and do your job, yo. All right? It happens. Okay? Eventually you get to the point where, and you know what's funny? Because as an electrician, this is where I learned this lesson. Okay? They were in the union, they are C mechanics and A mechanics. Okay? Now, you have to go schooling to become those C mechanics or A mechanics. And you can tell an A mechanic, yo, even if he's a junior A mechanic and just started the program, yo, these motherfuckers are badasses, right? And you look at them, and these are the people you want to be. So you start talking to them, blah, 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 and then you start seeing the mentality, the different mentality of a C mechanic and an A mechanic. A mechanics are always working. Hey, that's sounds like me. Okay, all right. C mechanics always complaining. Okay, They never take overtime. I always take overtime. Okay? Why? Because it increases my yearly income. And that's what I've always been working to do. Okay? All right? I want more money. All right? And I want more money from as a byproduct, not as me chasing the money. Okay? And you know why C mechanics? Now, A mechanics always take overtime. You know why? Because the job needs to be done, man. All right? The job's not done. I'm not going home until the job is done. That's why they take the overtime. That's my mentality, right? Okay? Which I've learned from A mechanics when I was actually an electrician. But the A mechanics guidelines and advice are given once in a while. Okay? And you normally would have to ask for it. And, I asked a lot of questions. So I got a lot of advice from an A mechanics mentality. And I'm not talking about a mechanic. I'm talking about the A mechanic on that job site. Okay? All right? This is a school we were rebuilding. All right? And you got to understand, we're electricians. So that means no AC, no elevators, okay? So all the stuff you got to walk up flights of stairs because we haven't ran electricity yet. All right? So you got to understand, that's the job. And it goes hand in hand because as an HVAC person, okay, for 10 years, I've never got to work in the AC in the summertime, and I've never got to work in the heat in the wintertime. I mean, guys, you're there to fix the actual thing. That's why you're there, right? So you don't get those luxuries. All right, so you're laying on cold-ass concrete or cold dirt underneath an actual crawl space in the wintertime. And in the summertime, you're killing your brain cells and seeing colors in the actual hot-ass attic. All right? Now, so you don't get that joy, okay? You're not there for that joy. You're there to give the customer that joy. So, what you'll get an abundance of, though, is the negative complaints from the C mechanics. Okay? Now, you got to understand, going back in time, the A mechanic and the C mechanic, at the same point in time in their career, had a choice to go one way or the other. Why did the A mechanic go the A route with 5 years of schooling, and the C mechanic went the way they went? Now, the C mechanic, okay, he's going to max out at $15 an hour in the union. Now guys, these are numbers back, decades back. Now, the A mechanic starts off at $20 an hour, okay, and has means of getting $1 an hour, increases for every license he gets for every state. So, I mean, he could be making $25, $30 an hour, okay? There have been stories that A mechanics that the company had to force this particular A mechanic, okay, to cash his checks. Because he had a pile of checks because he made enough money. He didn't need the money, so he wasn't pressed to go to the bank. Where the C mechanics were paycheck by paycheck, right? So you'll get a lot of advice from them, and I'm telling you, most of their advice is negative. I don't know why you spend all that time working overtime, Kyle. What are you trying to be the best? Best in the field, man. You're not going to be the best. All right, there's a lot of people out there a lot better than you, and not to mention the fact that taxes are going to take all the money, that you're going to make on the overtime anyway. Now, this is a person that doesn't understand how taxes work, because in reality, if I'm making $12,000 a year, okay, but my overtime makes me make $20,000 a year, what do you think is better? You goddamn right I'm taking that overtime, okay, but that's not how they see it. They have no idea how filing taxes and what they're really paying for. They don't even understand that you are paying taxes on a percentage of your income. They don't even get that. Okay? They want to make more money, but when the more money is there as far as overtime, they don't take it to make more money of the year. Because they see overtime as a negative. But not an A mechanic, because he's not even focusing. The money's a byproduct. Okay? And when I was trying to determine which way to go before I left the electrical field, okay, all all the mechanics, the C mechanics, were telling me how it was a waste of money and time and blah 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 blah. And the A mechanic was like, Kyle, let me tell you something, Okay, how does any of that make any sense? He goes, at some point in life, you got to realize that people are in the position that they are because that's where they want to be. They can do all the complaining in the world and bitch about how they don't, they're getting the short end of the stick, but they're the ones who chose it. He goes, Kyle, in the last 12 years or 15 years, I have never had an issue of having a paycheck or having or being employed. Every day I have worked because I'm a mechanic and I'm here to do the work until the job is done. He goes, trust me, Kyle, everything you're doing is the path of success in this career, which is the opposite of what everybody else was talking about, okay? But you also got to understand, I went to the A mechanic to ask him because the stories were it was just crazy. And when you have 10 people telling you the negativity of something, you want to believe it because we're human beings and we want negative advice to be believed. Oh my God. How could that's just messed up, okay? So remember, the company is always against you, and that's not the case, okay? All right? When you watch some of the things they do, it's like, yo, no wonder the company acts the way they do. Look what you're doing, right? Okay? Thievery, theft, rumors, okay? Drama, unnecessary drama, by the way, okay? So I just wanted to give that persona. It was something I was thinking about this morning when I woke up, okay? That's it, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Lean back. There you go. Does that feel better? There you go.
I hate when Netflix does that. So anyway, and it's doing it again. So let's go ahead and close this program on this website. All right, let's bring this up here. So now, one of the things that I didn't finish my thought on was why I like talking about space. Okay, all right, and it's very rare to find someone that can actually add to that conversation. So normally when I talk about space, somebody is listening because it's where magic exists in our universe. It's space. That's where real magic is. You want to know the existence of magic? Look into space. Okay, so let us take a look at our concept of the Milky Way, which most people, when I talk to them, have no concept. Okay? So, here is our spiral galaxy. Okay? Alright? And let's say we're up here. Alright? Now, there's a black hole here. Okay? Now, I remember talking to someone which was putting on a pedestal because I was having so much fun talking to this person until we talked about black holes being the center of galaxies, which would make sense. Okay? It literally makes sense. Okay? When I heard it, and this person is arguing with me about the concept of how that hasn't been proven yet, and she's wrong. Okay? We also had the same conversation how long, okay, going from one side of the galaxy across was, which is 100,000 light years. Okay? And it was funny because I was watching a video with Neil Tyson and in the video, and he had a very good point. Okay, his point was, what if we, from a size perspective, because we're looking at size does matter, right? From a spider walking up a wall, his size is why he could do that. Where while we couldn't, even if we were Spider-Man, because the hairs on our fingers would not justify the mass that was needed for him to walk up the wall, right? Okay, superpowers or not, it's physics, right? Okay, now, if we were big enough where we were the center of the galaxy, okay, that means as we stretched our arms across the galaxy, okay, our fingers will be able to reach the edge of each side of the galaxy, making them 50,000 light years across. Now, here's the thing. They were talking about how long would it take for a brain signal to go to your hand, go back to your brain, okay, to scratch an area on your body. And they were saying 50,000 years, and it's not true. It's 50,000 light years. Because you're half of the center part. And if it takes 1,000 light years, okay, all right, now, the person that was arguing with me, she was on her life, okay, was 100 light years. I'm like, yo, look it up, okay, because at this point, you're arguing with me. I'm not arguing with you. I'm having a discussion, okay, and then when we got on the concept of gravity, when she started calling me stupid and an idiot, that's when I started realizing, damn, Kyle, you're really just a poor judge of character sometimes, okay, because now. That right there, okay, is not someone who is on the logical spectrum that I love to have someone on when I'm conversating with them. That is attacking. That is a Mrs. Know-it-all, okay? Because first of all, 90% of the stuff that you say is wrong. I mean, like dead wrong. All right. And now we're no longer having discussions with each other. We're having arguments. That's a one-sided argument, okay? And you are now calling me an idiot and stupid, okay? And I'm just like, you know what? Just look it up. And you don't even apologize after I finally get you to look it up. And that's too much energy for me to spend. So now I have declassified you as an intellect, okay? But just an asshole, okay? Because that's exactly what she was. Okay, she was a selfish asshole who thought she knew it all. Okay, and I saw her as a intellectual, logical person, and I was dead wrong. Okay, dead wrong. Now, you gotta understand. Okay, now, from the perspective of this spot up here where Earth is at, that is when the dinosaurs ruled the Earth. Okay, and whether you want to believe it or not, we still don't know shit about dinosaurs, okay? But we're still learning. Now, at this point in time of age, we're down here. That means you got to understand something. We got a sun, we got Earth, okay? We got Mercury, which I think is like what, right here, okay? But as we are rotating around the sun, our entire solar system, even with Jupiter out here, is rotating around the galaxy. That would make sense, but most people don't see it that way. They can't fathom that's what's happening. Okay? Alright? They see it as a two-dimensional aspect, and that we're sitting still. And yeah, it's far from fact. So, if I wanted to travel back in time, okay, if I did not have knowledge of the coordinates of all this space, which would be ridiculous, right? But if, let's say I did, how would I ever go back in time without knowing the exact space and time and coordinates of where the Earth was in the galaxy at that particular time? Meaning, if as Earth is sitting here, okay, all right, and it is rotating around the actual sun, it is also rotating around the galaxy. So if I would go back in time, okay, all right, one day, 24 hours, guess what? That Earth has moved, and now I'm sitting in space, in the vacuum of space, and I'm dead. Because I did not utilize the coordinates of where Earth was 24 hours ago. Not from the perspective of not just rotating around the Earth, around the sun. That's one rotation, okay, that I have to worry about. But I also got to worry about the rotation around the galaxy. We are constantly moving, okay? So that's why, making time travel something that I would never attempt in my life, because, I'm going to end up dead 1 second later as I am actually in my machine. Okay, so now this type of conversation brings up wide, big ass eyeballs. Okay, all right, and it gives people a means of thinking beyond the concept of themselves. Okay, all right, and that's why I have a lot of things to talk about when it comes to time travel. Okay, but that's just me and my theories. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a astrophysicist. Okay, all right, but um, I'm a scientist at heart. So discussions are always up for the table. Okay, so think about that from an aspect that the concept of going around the entire galaxy, how long it takes. Okay, and if it takes 100,000, not 50,000 years, 50,000 light years, okay, for that brain to hit its fingertips, okay, to actually scratch their face, that's 50,000 light years this way and 50,000 light years this way, okay, all right, before we scratch our head in the time it takes us to exist in our time, in our timeline, we'll be dead. We'll never be able to get to scratch our head. Now, since we're in the middle of the galaxy and sitting in space, obviously we have, because of our size in that aspect, I'm assuming that, 100 years we'll be dead because that's how we are on Earth. But, again, maybe you're a sentinel being. Is it sentinel or sentinels? I can't remember. All right. You are a galactic being. How about that? Galactus. I even said that wrong. You're a being that, lives eons compared to our life and time frame on Earth. Okay. Still, to scratch your head or your arm or your butt is going to take you 50,000 light years. Minimum. That's just the brain getting to your hand. Okay. From what I understand, that signal has to go back in order to be acknowledged, in order for that movement to happen. I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's a one-way communication from source to destination, okay, to the hand, and then it scratches, or if it has to go back to the hand and then back to the brain, okay, in a bi-directional communication before the movement can be done. All right. Now, we could do this from our perspective simultaneously because of the size of who we are. Light does not have to travel, or brain signals or electrical signals does not have to travel that far. Okay, we're talking about 50,000 light years compared to 3 feet down your arm, maybe 2. Okay, I would say probably 2 feet, I guess. All right, so big difference for that signal to travel. Okay, all right, which is probably why spiders can move in a way where it looks like your mouse is skipping across your desktop. Okay, all right, because of their size, which makes our movement in a much more fluid method. So seeing a spider do that is freaky, man. It's like nightmarish freaky. It's like a horror film. Okay, and I have never liked it, and I still don't like it today because it's not the norm for us. Well, for them, it's the norm because of their size. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that out there, and just add on to the concept of finishing that thought. Okay, that was it.